Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and we're going to that horrible world known as the JRC. But before we do, the reason why you're seeing me so close up is Mr. Kitten has decided that the middle of the couch is his place. So I had to get up real close and personal, so. Sorry about the mug. I know I'm not looking my best today. Deal. I have to look at this mug every day, so do you. All right, we're gonna get through the disclaimers. We're gonna take care of this video. In the description box, folks, you're gonna find a link to the article that the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read. It's written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics, wherein they interviewed and surveyed over 900 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's so-called behavior modification program. Matter of fact, the JRC doesn't want you to read this article so much they have threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. Well, folks, NeuroClastic has refused, so you know the drill. Please read that article and share it on all your social media. You're also going to find linked in there NeuroClastic's public statement regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding in case the JRC actually has the balls to see through with their threat. You're also going to see linked in there the Ozark's first article in regards to the Agape boarding school, now known as Stone for Help boarding school situation. This is a so-called Christian-themed boarding school based out of Stockton, Missouri that takes in so-called troubled male teens that has pending over 21 civil lawsuits, claims, and allegations leveled against it. All of them have been substantiated by the Missouri Department of Social Services, and they include the following: sodomy, rape, sexual assault, child abuse, psychological and emotional abuse, child trafficking, starvation, and that's just for starters. You have one former staff member arrested by the FBI, another doctor still on the premises with full access to the boys up on multiple, again, substantiated claims of sodomy, rape, and sexual assault of the boys there. You have Attorney General too busy making libraries the enemy and chasing after drag queens to care about the real pedophiles in our state. And you've got a governor off his nut. So send help and share that article on all your social media. You're also going to find linked in there the other pertinent links to the Stop the Shocks campaign, including Autistic Hoya's massive archive on the subject, Jennifer Masumba's behavioral sheet of shockable offenses, a clip out of the 7-hour ordeal undergone by Andre McCollins back in 2002, the templates, and the ever-present self-explanatory change.org shut the Judge Rotenberg Center down petition. When we discuss the JRC, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of peoples with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, folks, please use the headphones, alright? Okay, so this channel's marked not for children for a reason. We use profanity and speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and they're watching this, very obviously, parental supervision is advised. Trigger warning, we are about to once again descend into the mad ravings of the lunatic mind known as Dr. Matthew Israel. You're going to hear gaslighting, victim blaming, pseudoscience and lies, abuse and torture apologencia, all coming from a man with a massive ego and even larger God complex. So please be prepared for the arrogant amount of stupid that is about to be read here. So where we left off last bid. The New York Psychological Association Task Force, which reviewed INSEAD's report, raised particular concerns about the use of aversives at JRC without careful attention to the patient's diagnosis. JRC thoroughly diagnoses every student that is recommended for supplemental aversive interventions, and those diagnoses are submitted to court as part of the proposed treatment plan. What? Hell nah. Hell nah. Doctor, most of these kids come into your school and they already have diagnoses. Are you telling me your arrogant ass directs your team to re-diagnose these kids as they come into your school? Are you on crack? What the hell? It now makes sense when he tries to tell them, but they're the most severest ever. Oh, I bet you make sure it looks like that on paperwork, don't you? So you not only dress them up as Hannibal Lecter, you diagnose them as though they're Hannibal Lecter too. Makes sense. Makes sense. That's how this twisted man works. The JRC students receive a number of different services depending on their diagnosis, including all of the services requested by their school district and set forth in their individual education plans. Allow me to elaborate something, doctor. Teachers aren't doctors. IEPs have nothing to do with a treatment plan. It has to do with helping with the education of the person with the diagnosis, but has no bearing on their treatment plan. Are you on crack? Read what the allegation is again. Slowly, doctor. The school districts do not diagnose kids. Doctors do. Really? God. Most JRC students are diagnosed with multiple disorders before arriving at JRC. Particularly, their most urgent and health-threatening diagnosis is a severe behavior disorder that has been resistant to all other forms of treatment, including drugs and positive-only procedures. That's a lie, doctor. That's a lie. I will say it again. Autism, Down syndrome, Angelman syndrome, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, attention deficit disorder. None of these are severe behavioral disorders, doctor. They are all developmental disabilities. Not a single one of them is a behavioral disorder. Seriously? But they did the positive only. They did the ABA without aversives, doctor. They did not do positive only, because even so-called aversive-free ABA has its own aversives, such as removed affection. I'm not kidding. Don't hug your kids. Don't show them any kind of love unless they perform the tasks like a performing seal. I wish I was kidding, but I'm not. Okay? You've stated numerous times that you don't even know what positive behavioral reinforcement is. You do not know the real numbers or the data on it. Nor do you have anything when it comes to person-centered planning. So that's a lie. The reason why he likes to hammer in severe is because he wants you to believe that nothing else works but violence. It's the same justification that every abuser parent has ever used. Ever. Okay? You're using the same justification of people, parents who get caught abusing their children. They too like to say you just don't understand. They too like to say the kid is out of control and violence is all they understand. Doesn't make it right, does it? And it certainly does not make it best practices when it comes to medicine, or social work programs, or education for that matter. Corporal punishment has been banned in schools since the 90s, doctor, for a reason, because corporal punishment only works short time. For a very short time. I can tell you this, I was a 90s kid, was a part of the last generation that used to get spanked. You think it kept us from doing anything stupid? Watch the Gen X games sometime. JRC also employs psychiatrists, school psychologists, physicians, speech therapists, and other medical and rehabilitative professionals to address all the diagnostic and treatment needs. And all of them sign off on your psychosphere. Doctor, you have to excuse me if I'm not impressed here. The task force referred to above may not have been any behavioral psychologists on it who were familiar with the uses and benefits of aversives or behavioral skin shock. Here we go again. We're the only ones to understand, and you probably didn't have psychologists on it who understand that aversives like we do. Everybody understands aversives, doctor. It's corporal punishment. Corporal punishment over behaviors we have no control over because your dumbass refuses to do your homework and actually look into what's triggering said behaviors. You punish us for symptoms, doctor. Literally that. You're punishing us for the symptoms. You do nothing to fix the issue that is causing the behavior. You are compounding trauma by adding PTSD onto our list of issues. And you do not care about these kids' different diagnoses, doctor. In fact, you have said earlier in this article that you will determine how many skin shocks that we need, depending on our behaviors. That's not taking different diagnoses into consideration. Seriously? The New York Psychological Association Task Force has never visited JRC or directed any questions to any of JRC's clinicians. It appears that this task force formed its opinions by doing nothing more than reading the false and biased INSEAD report of 2006. It's not false because you don't want it to be true, doctor. How many times do I have to say how these groups to come together and why? We don't just show up out of nowhere because it's Tuesday and we're bored. Most of us have a caseload that reaches up to at least the third level of heaven. Okay? Our caseload is insane, doctor. Many of us, because we are not funded properly and therefore there is not money to hire the amount of individuals that are needed to oversee a region, deal with massive caseloads. Massive. I cannot understate it. Or overstate it, for that matter. It's not biased because you want it to be. It's always, you didn't go to the guided tour. You didn't come to us because you've proved time and again that you lie. You are untrustworthy. For God's sake, you are known for destroying evidence. Why in the name of God are they going to come to you? When task force like this, like when NSAID comes in, like when they do an analysis on a situation, when we are their doctor, it's called we're the ones they call when things go wrong. And things, doctor, have gone wrong. Okay? Our job is not to coddle you. Our job is not to pat your head and call you a good boy. Our job is to find out what you don't want us to know. Our job is to find out what's really going on, not what picture you want to paint. And just because we are there to find out the truth, that does not make us biased or false, doctor. NSAID did not lie about a single thing, and you were not able to catch them in a single lie in the over hundreds of pages of bull that you writ in your so-called response. Just a bunch of nonsensical what-ifs. Seriously. If it is false, name me one thing that NSAID said in that report that was false, doctor. Because every one thing that you said wasn't true, you then proceeded to write away as to why it was true, but this is why you did it. It's not a defense. I don't know what it is. I don't know what monkey you had type out that defense, but they need to be fired. because that wasn't a response. You cannot name a single lie that New York told. Not one. And the New York Psychological Association, same as our counterparts out here, are going to take the non-biased investigation of individuals, a team that comes out with the correct credentials in spite of what Dr. Israel tries to tell you. They're going to take the words of those who do not have a dog in the fight, who are not being paid to spread propaganda, over someone who does. You've had in case after case since 1982 refused to give over paperwork, refused to give evidence, have ordered evidence destroyed, and then you're shocked when they go off of what New York says during unannounced visits, as opposed to, but if you just take it the guided tour, we could explain it to you. No, you can't, doctor. I've seen your testimonials. I've seen your website. I've seen your BS explanations, and they're junk, doctor. They're not worth the paper they were originally written on. That paper would have been better used as toilet paper because at least it would have had some use. You didn't discredit NSAID. In fact, what you did through the entirety of your response to so-called report is actually reinforce that everything they said, every little thing was 100% correct, which is why the New York Psychological Association Task Force relied on it instead of your BS propaganda. Because we don't do reports off propaganda, doctor. We don't come out there to places like that when we have caseloads to decide for our health. It's because things have gone wrong, doctor. It's because there's been enough reports that there has been reason for concern. We're going to close on that. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time. And as always, we here at Snilling Tea do hope you have a good one. Bye-bye, everyone.